Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today's session, Competing with Clarity, How Banks and Credit Unions Multiply Performance Without Adding Headcount. I'm Lori McLaughlin. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Review Insight, and I'm joined by our CEO, Brian Bauer. And we're excited to show you a live demo of the platform today. You're going to be amongst the very first to see one of our latest features, which is our AI-powered agent. It lets you and your teams chat with your data just like you'd have a conversation with a person. So instead of waiting on IT tickets to get answers, you can ask questions and get instant insights. I know a lot of you rely on static reports from outdated core systems. You're not alone. You're probably forced to make decisions based on delayed data. We're going to show you today how institutions are replacing that old operating model with a one that's built on direct real-time understanding that leads to more targeted relationship management and faster decision making. So before I get to it, a couple of housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A feature. Drop any questions you have in there at any time, and we'll be sure to answer them. And in a couple of days, you're going to receive an email with a recording of this session. So feel free to rewatch and share. Let's get going. If there's one thing dominating banking headlines these days, it's AI. Mega banks continue to pour billions of dollars into it, and it's really starting to pay off. I just updated this budget figure from Chase. Last year, they spent 18 billion on tech and AI, and this year they're slated to spend near 20 billion. They were quoted, Jamie Dimon was quoted as saying to the news media that for every $2 billion invested, they're saving 2 billion a year. Also, interestingly, at Chase, they do things a little differently. AI is not owned by IT, it's owned by the business owners, the people that are trying to create practical applications to improve business outcomes. And I just think that's really key. Just as a couple examples of how they've made their teams more efficient, their investment bankers can now create decks for client meetings in 30 seconds, and it used to take them days. And their operations area is seeing 40 to 50% productivity gains, which is massive. Bank of America is pretty similar. They're dropping a cool 13 billion on tech and AI this year. Like Chase, they're also helping their employees reallocate tens of thousands of hours every year so that they can invest them instead on building relationships. Most of their employees are actively using their homegrown AI assistant, and IT queries have been cut in half. Just think about that. What a relief for everyone. Um, Meanwhile, most institutions are probably still in the pilot phase, maybe with a few projects, and they're really trying to figure out where to begin. And so, where does that leave everyone? I, as a marketer, really empathize with all of you that are in marketing on the line with us today. I know that oftentimes you don't really have access to the customer and member data that you need. You're probably lucky if you can see everything that a customer or member holds with your institution. But what about all that off-book business, all that business that they're giving to competitors? I'm also well aware that you probably pull your hair out every day trying to pull lists, segmenting your customers, ensuring people qualify for the offers you want to make. And here's the thing. Sophisticated marketers have invested in predictive models, and some of them are pretty sophisticated and have gotten good at trying to guess what customers are going to need next. But what we believe is the best cross-sell offers are based on what customers and members are already using with competitors. That's your business to win and to own. Relationship managers have their own pile of problems. Oftentimes, a single RM is managing hundreds of clients. And meanwhile, a lot of their time is sucked up with administrative work, filing those IT tickets, pulling manual reports, trying to figure out what customers have with the bank and what they need next. And those IT requests don't get fulfilled all that quickly. People can wait days or even a week. We agree with Boston Consulting Group. Timely reporting of transaction data gives relationship managers the insights that they need into, how their clients' needs are evolving. And it's really important that they get that visibility so that they can act on it. And then lastly, all of the managers and leaders on the line, you know, you're really also trying to analyze your business, measure performance, and oftentimes the data just isn't there. It's difficult for you often to see full relationships with customers, spot risks early, see opportunities. And that's why a lot of times, churn rates, for example, we've written a lot about this, they're often measured on account closures versus economic churn. So that's when, a customer was great on paper last year and they've started siphoning away business to competitors. And performance is often measured on balance stability versus wallet share. And wallet share, we believe, is one of the best metrics to evaluate the quality of your relationships. So you're going to see the platform in just a couple of minutes, but before you do, I just want to give you a quick overview. We like to think of the platform as a growth positioning system or a GPS for banks and credit unions. It helps you surface and prioritize key revenue signals. So, where are the opportunities? How many are there? And which ones should I prioritize? And should I prioritize for my team? It's really about giving your teams clarity they need to act. It's not just a dashboard with a rear view picture on what happened last quarter. It's really telling the entire organization where to focus and what to do next. And now I'm going to turn it over to Brian. He's going to do the demo in just a minute, but before he does, he's going to talk a little bit about how we think of AI.
Thanks, Lori. So, AI, in order to get the value out of it, requires a lot of stages that your data has to go through in order to really get that to that point of productivity value. AI is a great tool. It uses probabilistic type analytics, which is different than all the previous technologies that have come before. And so really where this process starts is at the base layer. You've got to build a foundation with your data in order to activate it in this way. So, and that starts with data normalization. So bringing in data from multiple disparate sources, making sure that that data is, put into a relational database, and also, in our case, we map it to what we call the Revio data format model, which allows us to then go on to the next stage, and that is to apply deterministic analytics. So deterministic analytics are, traditional type algorithms and classifications, rules engines, and different types of analytic methods that you use to determine facts. It's important to create this layer of facts about a customer and the relationship in order to then feed that into an AI model. But you're not even done there. Whenever you get it into the AI model, you really need that AI model grounded in expert knowledge, grounded in definitions about the data model and the deterministic analytics that sit underneath it. And then and only then can you really get to that point of being able to generate insights. And really, when it comes to applying AI to this data, it's really about accelerating the access that you have to the data. So being able to accelerate to an action, being able to accelerate to a decision, but that comes by giving access to that data that any business user can then interact with. You don't have to know SQL, code queries. You don't have to, be highly technical in order to navigate the data. That's really about giving the business leaders and business units access to that data on a timely basis in order for them to be able to then take action or make decisions. So now, we're going to hop into the demo environment. And, if you'll just take your screen share down, Lori, and I will pop up a screen share. And we'll jump right in here into the demo environment. So what we're looking at here is our AI interface. And so, you can see from the AI interface, we're giving you some suggestions we give to the user right up front, where we're, suggesting, hey, you can use this AI for meeting preparation, explore top opportunities, explore your commercial loans, look at new account activation, et cetera. So we're showing those use cases right up front to kind of inspire the user so they kind of know what direction that they can go with within the AI in order to navigate their data. So I've got a few pinned conversations here I've had with the AI that I've really just had mostly this morning, but I'm going to do a handful live. And because it takes a minute or two for the AI to actually work through this, we've pinned a few that we've already done, but we want to show the AI functioning itself. And so in this case, I've got a meeting today. I'm a banker and I have a meeting today with Schaefer Associates. So I want to see about this relationship. I want to see about the accounts and the opportunities and understand the competitors within this relationship. And so, I've input this prompt now into the AI, and the AI is doing the thinking for me, right? It's digging into this account. It's looking at the deterministic analytics, and it's interpreting that through the grounded knowledge that we've given this AI in order to be able to navigate. And so now, this was a pretty quick one. In just less than a minute here, I've got a good high level on Schaefer Associates and the opportunities associated. So I can see, what kind of accounts, the deposit accounts that they have, the balances that they have, but I also can see these active opportunities that they have. So, we've got a commercial loan refinance opportunity. With Wells Fargo, we've got commercial credit cards, a little over $500,000 a year in credit card spend. They've got payroll that may or may not be of interest. If you have a payroll product, maybe it is. And then they've got a little bit of insurance as well. So we can see, all right, who are these competitive relationships that we have? So we've got Wells Fargo, ADP, Capital One. We do have one unclassified credit card issuer, Citibank, Synchrony Bank, so on and so forth. And now we get down into the talking points. We're suggesting here, how you might approach Schaefer Associates and giving you a few little tidbits in order to get started in that conversation. But, one of the things we hear from bankers all the time is, hey, it takes me a long time to prepare for a customer engagement. I put, several hours sometimes into, piecing together what's that account look like with what's that relationship look like with my financial institution and what are the opportunities? And in this case, we can show you that in just about 30 seconds. So, a few minutes before the client walks into the branch or a few minutes before you walk out, you can drop this in to the AI and get an answer out of it. So now I'm going to show another one. And this one is, from the perspective of a relationship manager. And I've copied and pasted these so you don't have to watch me type these out because that would be a horrible exercise. But I'm a relationship manager, Matthew Gonzalez. I'm looking for what are my top opportunities. So if I'm going to reach out to customers this week or today, where are those top opportunities that I have that I could potentially engage? And in this case, I'm looking at credit card opportunities, but I'm also looking at commercial deposit capture opportunities. So again, the AI is going to do a little thinking here for us. And it's going to drag back some of this information, so that way I can just kind of concentrate on jumping in and taking action instead of having to go research who I actually have a growth opportunity with. We're going to let the data do the work, and the AI really help us maximize the productivity value of that data. All right, so in this case, we've got a breakdown of these opportunities. I've got 5 commercial deposit capture opportunities. You can see the competitors where those are being transferred out to. Here's one, Bank of America. This would be, of top interest, I think, to me. And then jumping down into the credit card opportunities, we can see, hey, Capital One, Amex, JP Morgan, et cetera, but all multi-million-dollar credit card opportunities. If I'm going to go engage any customer this week, why not do that on the basis of customers that I actually have opportunity to grow with? So,
yeah, and Brian, just to kind of build on that slide that you were reviewing before you got into this demo. So just for everyone on the line, the agent's actually querying your data, or would be, obviously, this is demo data. But it's just amazing at how quickly it really comes up with those answers. And Brian, just to explain, because we didn't go into a lot of detail, how it's discovering these competitor relationships, it's through the transaction data and our proprietary process for deciphering those strings. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about
Yeah,
that.
I mean that's a great point. This is all on the basis of first party or core and customer data. So that includes the customer data itself and the transactions themselves. So that's how we're getting to the point of understanding who are these competitors that the customer has. We don't really care if your customer goes to McDonald's 5 days a week. We like to joke that that's maybe a signal for their cardiologist, not for the bank. That's not actionable information for you. But if that customer is utilizing a credit card or moving deposits off the book or paying a loan to an external financial services provider, or maybe using somebody's merchant services that aren't yours, those are signals that the bank can use. And in this case, that's the analysis that we do at the deterministic stage. And then really what the AI is about productivity value, right? It's about giving access and accelerating access to the information necessary in order for the individual banker or the manager or the executive to do their job. So in this case, we're really showing this from the perspective of how a relationship manager might use it, but there's also use cases around how leadership uses it, how management uses it, how marketing might use it. And so speaking of marketing, I'll jump into a marketing related prompt right now, which is showing my commercial customers with loans maturing in the next 120 days. And so this could be a marketer, this could be an individual banker that, or a loan officer or the chief lending officer who wants to know, hey, I've got these loans that are out, they're almost mature. Do we need to engage these customers in order to either renew those loans? These could be credit lines. A lot of credit lines with commercial customers are on a renewal schedule. Anything that's time based like that. You can prompt the AI then to come in and help do the work for you. So that way you can just kind of concentrate on the execution phase. So we're going to let the AI do the work and see what it brings back as a summary in this audience.
Yeah, and Brian, I know we've met with a lot of marketers and they tell us tales about filling out long IT requests. And then if something changes and they want to make an edit to their requests, the clock starts all over. So being able to just ask follow-up questions, change your queries on the fly, would certainly make me happy.
So what you're seeing here is this AI is confirming with me what exactly I want to search for. So, this sits on top of our data model. So it's referencing those particular data objects that are beneath that. So it's telling me exactly how it's going to slice and dice this audience in order to make, in order to generate this list for me. So, it's continuing to do its job and think, and here we go. So we've got some that are, these customers have already obviously paid off that loan. But we've got a number of customers here within the data set that that have these loans maturing and still have a positive balance on them. And so I can jump right into the audience, but I've actually I'll show you the audiences here in just a moment. But this is how easy it is. This is about access to that data. Here's one that I've pinned, and I just did this a few hours ago. You can see 3 hours ago I did this prompt. But what I was looking for in this prompt was show me my retail checking customers. I wanted to see those customers in the last 6 months that had opened an account with balances less than $2,000 that don't have a direct deposit. So that's an insight that we're producing. And that they don't have a checking utilization score or their checking utilization is under 3.5. And again, that's a proprietary insight that we actually measure the activity happening within these retail customer accounts, not only for direct deposit, but also for utilization score. And this is kind of how we can slice our customers and see really who's adopted and who isn't within the accounts. And so you can see here, it confirmed exactly what I wanted to see, included its assumptions. So it gave me a less than 3.5, not less than or equal to 3.5, but that's okay. We just went with it. And so now, we've got our customers, our balances, and we can actually see these customers in this audience. So if I wanted to run if I wanted to, look at customers on a 30-day basis or a 60-day basis and maybe check in with these customers and see how they're doing. Now I've gone through the work of taking all the customers that have opened an account in the last 180 days. I've sliced it down to just the ones I want to look at. And look, even within this, if there's some that I don't want to reach out to, maybe I look at this, Jennifer Moore, $1,800 in the account. Maybe I don't want to reach out to Jennifer Moore, but I've got most of the work has been done here. right? I've sliced this down into an audience that's actionable, whether this is a banker outreach campaign or it's a marketing campaign that I could really use to drive onboarding or win that direct deposit or win higher balances from these customers. In this next prompt is with the AI is I really wanted to see my CD only customers, right? So we, a lot, know that we, all banks have a lot of single service customers out there, and if you're in something like a CD product that you might want to concentrate on those customers and get them into another type of deposit product. You're not going to win them all, but, the question is can you slice down an audience enough in order to be able to run a campaign? And this is, again, this is somewhere where a marketer, a great use case for a marketer to be able to engage customer relationships on the basis of what products they're using. We talk to a lot of marketers, and sometimes, or a lot of times, is what's stopping them is, they're worried about reaching out to the customer and saying the wrong thing or delivering the wrong message, and they don't have access to the data itself. They're certainly not technical enough, if they did, to be able to run SQL queries and try to figure out exactly what those customer relationships look like. So it often ends up in that IT ticket request cycle, which can take anywhere from days to weeks to fulfill. In this case, I just typed in a prompt and I got that back, right? Again, it confirmed with me exactly what it wanted me to know, or it wanted me to confirm. And then it delivered to me this audience of these customers that are CD only customers. And in this case, it asked me if I wanted to make an audience, and I said yes. And so what I'll do here is I'll actually click and open up that audience so we can actually take a look at it. And so, you can see here's the 1,014 customers that were identified. And, some of these have quite high balances in CDs, and they are CD only customers. I'll look here at Pamela, and I'm going to open up Pamela's profile here within the system. And you can see, Pamela is she got a great CD balance with us, but she is a CD only customer. Is this a customer that should be engaged, maybe cross-sold a checking product or a loan product? How do we enhance this customer relationship? Because we got one product with her. If we want to engage this customer, we can engage her on that type of campaign that is a product expansion campaign, maybe into a checking product or another product. So I'll jump back over here and we'll explore a few of the others. In this case, with the M&A environment the way it is, certainly being able to look at customers on the basis of specific bank competitors. We have one client that has a PNC office that was in their town, and they closed the one PNC office. So they, looked out to see what customer exposure they had to PNC. They also had a bank that was acquired, or an announcement came out that they were being acquired within their service area. They were able to jump right into the platform and query the platform for their current customer exposure, again, from their transaction records, who's got loan payments at that financial institution, who's got deposit transfers. And when you see things like loan payments and deposit transfers, those are really signals, right? I mean, you really have to engage that customer to find out just how much is on the other side of those signals, right? How much is the loan balance? What is the full deposit balance that sits over there at that other FI? But without those signals, you don't know where to engage. These signals tell you exactly where you need to. So in this case, we're looking at PNC. Again, the AI confirms with me exactly what do I want to see. And it's looking at both commercial and consumer. With the competitor is PNC. And so it's come up now with that, with that summary report of how many customers do I have, how many accounts are there, and where are those opportunities. And as a next step here, I can decide if I want to create an audience, and I want to actually maybe engage in a marketing campaign, or maybe I want to just create an audience so I can hand it out to my, share that audience with my bankers, so that way they can start taking action. Or if I want to create that audience and import that into what we call Engagement Manager, that's another place that I can leverage that audience. So it doesn't just have to be within the platform. If you've got a CRM system, that can be pushed out to that CRM system. But now you've got an audience on the basis of the intelligence that you wanted to know, and you can go ahead and start taking action.
Yeah, so Brian, you just said something pretty important. I just wanted to dwell on it for a second. These insights can be pushed to a CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, so that, when your teams are going in there to look at checking on a customer, they'll see the opportunities, they'll see the competitive activity, and it just makes it so much more valuable, the system that you invested in.
Yeah, so it's perfect point is that we really have built all of this functionality not just to function within the native application itself, but all of these functions then push through to third-party systems where your bankers might already be logged into, so that way they can take action from where they are, right? And so in this case, we're looking at both commercial and consumer customers with Treasury Direct exposure. So, we know what these funds are doing. They're going off to chase some yield at Treasury Direct. If we have a demand for deposits that we want to bring in more deposits, we know they're chasing yield, but could these be great money market customers? Could they be great CD customers if we want to convert them into CDs? But if you can't see where the money's going, you can't take any of that action. So in this case, now we can refine down exactly, which opportunities. And we've got some of these that are certainly multi-million-dollar movements of funds off the book to places like Treasury Direct. Again, I can create an audience out of this from right here. And go ahead and start taking action on that, export it into a data format from there, or if I'm integrated into a CRM system, I can share that with the CRM system and go take that action from there. In this case, looking at my consumer, so this is kind of a complex one, right? I'm looking at my consumer customers with credit card opportunities that also have active checking. So what are we looking at, right? We're looking at a customer who's pretty well adopted into the bank. So this is not where we're trying to maybe cross-sell a credit card product or something like that in the dark. These are well-qualified customers that would be highly likely to be, qualified for a credit card product. They're well adopted within the bank because we see that they have direct deposit. We see that their balances are, at least $5,000 in the account. Again, it confirmed with me exactly what I wanted to see, and I confirmed that back with the AI, and it brought me back a summary of these customers. So in this case, I've got a ton of customers that actually meet this criteria, but it's going to show me here. It'll give me a preview of those top 20. In this case, it's done the top 20 by my balance with those customers. Again, I can create that audience out of this, and it will form that audience for me, and I don't have to do any of that on my own. So,
hey, Brian, before you move on to the next one, we got a couple questions that came in that we may as well answer.
sure.
From Brandon, does this platform sit on the bank side of the house so no data is leaving our environment?
Yeah, all right, so that's a great question. We're totally AWS hosted. So it's hosted domestically within the United States, of course. So we're abiding by all the regulations on where we put that data. But the core systems are really not equipped to be able to handle this type of functionality. So we get a few flat files is our typical way to do this out of the core system: a transaction file, a customer file, product file. And so, working with the bank's IT staff, we get those flat files pushed over into our AWS environment. And we can take those in a couple of different ways. We can take them with sanitized PII and NPI information as well. But a lot of our customers just pass all of the data. And then it's within our AWS environment that all this functionality within the applications happen.
Yeah, and Brian, I may as well just mention we've obviously got our SOC 2 Type 2.
Yep.
So we follow the strict regulations and procedures.
Yeah, we do all the things you'd expect us to do here: regular pen testing. We do have a number of single sign-on integrations, so we can typically abide by if the bank has a particular single sign-on, if they're using Microsoft or Okta or kind of any of the majors that are out there. So we do certainly take login security very seriously. We take the data is encrypted both in motion and at rest. And so, we are taking all those precautions with the data. But you really got to get this into a cloud environment where you can apply AI to it. And while we're on the topic, we actually use through AWS what's called their Bedrock service. So this is not going into like a public version of an AI where we're training an external model or anything like that. All of these interactions are happening within that private instance of an AI model that we've trained and grounded with our own proprietary information.
Great. I got one more question for you, Brian. Okay, so I can start the answer to this one. Can the AI help the users take advantage of the opportunities or help them in following up with the customer? I know you showed off Engagement Manager there just a second ago. It works like a lot of task systems you've probably used, whether you've used Trello, it's card-based, but you can auto-assign follow-up tasks to your teams here, and watch them progress.
That's right. So, we're not a CRM system, but a lot of our customers don't have a CRM. So we needed a place to prompt banker action and engagement. And that's where this is. The AI will also do some other things. Like if I asked it to draft an email, it would draft communications for me. That's not a functionality we necessarily advertise today, but the AI will do that if the user asks it to. And that's certainly a place that we're focused is everywhere from opportunity identification until the final engagement. So that's the workflow. And AIs only really are able to deliver on productivity value if you kind of break that workflow down into its chunks and say, where can I apply AI to make this happen either faster or more effectively? And certainly communication drafting is one of those pieces of the workflow. It starts with identifying the opportunity, and then going into engagement preparation, making suggestions as to how to best engage, and then of course drafting communication is a piece of that workflow. Today we're mostly have been focused on stage 1 and stage 2, but stage 3, again, the AI will in fact draft a email or communication, but we've not necessarily tuned it to do so in a specific way.
Yeah, it's not a core capability at this time.
A few other places to kind of show off on the platform here that I think are important. We jumped into audiences very quickly, but we jumped back out. And I mean, audiences is a place where you can slice and dice and create any custom audience you want on the basis of any insight we produce, number one. So things like competitors or opportunities where they're using customers using a specific product, or things like direct deposit that we sense, or account utilization scoring. So those types of things that are insights, or attribute data. So the data that you're passing over, like balance, like the number of transactions that customers engaged in within a certain period of time. And that's actually a user can set those parameters, or whether or not they actually utilize their debit card or not. Maybe you want to run a debit card, so half of the problem is just getting the data into a format that a business user can take action on. And that's what we solved with audiences, is getting the data to that point, and adding our insights to the mix. And then the piece where we're using AI is really about accelerating that access, right? So rather than going through and filtering on the basis of those individual attributes or insights, really just telling the AI what you want, and the AI being able to interpret that, and with a very high degree of accuracy, give that back to you. Normally in the exact the suggestion that it gives you, the vast majority of the time, the suggestion before it applies the filters is absolutely correct and what you want. So, from audiences, this is, again, you can export this data to marketing campaigns. You can push this over to CRM. You can use audiences to assign tasks down to your bankers. But if you're not that high tech and you just want to export it to an Excel spreadsheet and hand it to a manager or hand it to a banker, you can do it that way as well. So we really try to meet our customers where they are. I'll kind of go back into the opportunities UI. And so this is a place where a user can jump in, and really just look through the lens of what's the product growth opportunity with this customer. And so here we're looking at commercial deposit leakage. We've got 1,200 accounts and 35 million that's been identified. And so, we can look at, any one of these companies and kind of drill in and actually see what's going on. I'm just going to randomly click one here and see where we go. So here we've got, plenty of commercial deposit opportunity. We've got a little bit of credit card and some insurance as well. And you can see here's their checking account, $100,000 balance with us. Their utilization is not terrible. It's not great. But we can look into this account more deeply to see, hey, is this a transactional account, or is this actually, did I capture the operating relationship here? And then, if I, we got this requested and I resisted it, but eventually gave in. But you can even generate a PDF and actually download this or print it. And if you want to, take this to the meeting or take it out of the system, you can even do that from within the system. So they asked for PDFs and they got PDFs.
Well, we saw it earlier when we talked about Chase and Bank of America. I mean, meeting prep was definitely an early use case for both of those banks. So I guess it makes sense given all the time wasted.
Well, and that pretty much wraps up the demo. I mean, we could continue to type prompts into the AI all day, but it's quite functional, and we're really pleased with the results.
I'm going to switch the order here, Brian. I'm actually going to launch the poll right now,
Okay.
real quick before we finish up. All right. So if you'd like to see a custom platform demo, there's a lot more to see, and you'll get a chance to ask questions. Just go ahead and uh, answer this poll. We'll give it just another minute or two before I end it. Yeah, it really is incredible. Again, just as a marketer and someone that's worked in banking for so long, I sure wish I had this like 10 years ago. Okay, well, for anyone that didn't get a chance to answer, if you change your mind and you want to follow up with us later, please do. All right, I'm going to share my screen once more, and then we're going to wrap it up soon. Let's see here. Sorry, just one moment. Having, here we go. All right. So just to kind of talk a little bit more about how this can help teams across your organizations, obviously we've talked a lot today about leadership. You can really spot opportunities and risks across your portfolio, slice and dice your data any way you want, evaluate M&A, and really just make sure that teams are following up on the opportunities that are there. We actually had a customer where a bank that wanted to launch a new commercial credit card. And before they did that, they used our platform to study where their existing customers had relationships. And they launched a bang up card and raised, I think, 50 million in card volume just right off the bat. Marketers, that are relying on predictive models or relying on cluster data, the best way to make sure your cross-sell offers work is to make sure they actually need the product you're trying to offer. And so seeing what they're doing with competitors is really invaluable. And it can also really drive a lot of cool personalization. Bankers, we talked a lot today about the pressures they're under managing hundreds of customers. They can see, off-book relationships. They can walk into meetings prepared. They can reclaim their work days so they're not running around trying to find the data they need. And, obviously the frontline teams are under a lot of pressure. They don't know who's going to walk in or call today. And so, this is a way for them to know instantly, what to offer and what someone needs. um, didn't animate that correctly, but just to talk about some of the results that our clients have shared with us. Tioga State Bank, this is a smaller community bank, and they won 7 merchant services referrals. They won those deals in just 2 months. And I mean, that's like probably triple, what they might ordinarily get over the course of many months. I talked about SunWest Bank just a second ago. They're the ones that launched that commercial card. And Carson, the president, is thrilled. So is Republic Bank. They're seeing great ROI, as is Carter. First Financial's using it to really fuel organic growth. And CC Bank uses the platform in a lot of ways, but the reason I included them here is just, so you can hear what they say about the team. We understand when you buy a platform, you don't really want to struggle to use it. And so, you get dedicated support, and we're here for you when you need it. So again, if you didn't get a chance to answer that poll question and you'd like to learn more and you'd like to see a deeper dive demo, just get in touch with me or with Brian. You can even fill out a request on our website and we'll get right back to you. So thanks everyone for joining us today. You'll be getting that email in just a couple days with a recording of today's session. And I hope you all have a great day and a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks again.